as Andy Reid has now detailed over 3 consecutive years of preparation for this game, you do most of the real work ahead of a Super Bowl before you ever leave for the destination, right? The game plan, the scouting, the tape grinding, all of that is stuff that you want to get mostly taken care of at home so you can deal with all the festivities when the festivities arrive. What Super Bowl week is truly for is for learning some truly remarkable yet somehow completely unsurprising things. That was the experience I had when I watched a clip from Media Night of Joe Tooney handling an entire interview in fluent Spanish. Maybe he can only speak Spanish while playing left tackle. Lots of people, including the esteemed Randy Gisarelli, making the point they've now heard Joe Tooney say more words in Spanish than they have in English. We'll stick mostly English forward here on this episode of Only Weird Games, where Nate Taylor is live from Radio Row.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Joe Tooney speaking Spanish. Andy Reid is using some of his best material of the year up at the podium, and the Chiefs and Eagles do play a football game for the championship of the National Football League at the end of this week. Nate, live from New Orleans. The KCSN backdrop looking great behind you. How's Radio Row? Is it still Radio Row?
Oh yeah. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are back to a handheld mic.
Yeah.
Yes, we are technically on time. I did find the backdrop. Thank you, BJ. Thank you, Tucker. Thank you, Haley. This is the first sniff, okay? I've been in this room, this warehouse, for less than an hour, okay?
Plenty of time for too many sniffs already, if I had to guess.
Yes. So, Nate, is your bed made? No, Ice Pyro, it is not. Because the way I don't want to give my exact location.
Room number.
I almost did. The way we're going to get the happy joy that is the first sniff of this, okay? It's Thursday. That will be uncut. That will be maybe unrated or R-rated. But we're gonna get the best first sniff of this. Oh, what a time! I've already taken photos with people. People have already taken selfies with me. I was just over there behind the backdrop, through the backdrop with Robert Mays for my annual visit on the NFL.
Does he still currently have glitter in his mustache?
Yes.
Fantastic.
I saw he interviewed me, or we talked as friends, as people who've been doing this far too long. Yeah, with all the New Orleans art and glitter you could have for losing the picks bet. If you so thankfully listen to the Athletic Football show. So yeah, I've only been in here for like maybe an hour. I did some transcribing and some writing earlier. I got more to do later. Yeah, it's the best that Radio Row is gonna smell all week, because this is truly like the first day, because everything, as we all know, starts opening night on Monday, and I just want to leave you all in the best high that Radio Row can give you, because Thursday, if I'm back in this same spot, it's gonna be like more Pulp Fiction than like Disney. Today's Disney. Today's it's a dream come true. We're back in the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. And I received this while having lunch with Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest. He put out a photo.
First time I've gotten FOMO all week, Nate. Seeing that picture of you two. First time I thought I wish I was there.
Yeah, he had a very tasty for my eyes. What's
crab
it called?
Cake sandwich?
No, crab cake sandwich. And I had grilled, seasoned to death shrimp po' boys. We back, kids. We back.
Mm.
And something was given to me and Matt that I am now going to give to you, the audience, visually.
A bite of that food?
Oh, I wish.
God.
But this was given to me. This is what happens when you're just in New Orleans. It's technically Marti Gras on top of the Super Bowl. So just
Didn't even
be
know
prepared
that.
for what I'm about to give you.
Okay.
I'm opening up the package.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm prepared to do what I need to do for this bit.
Now, I don't know if this is a contractually conflict of interest.
I'm afraid.
The lovely waitress did not throw these at me, so
Good.
that's okay.
Good.
But here, kids, here, have some beads. Have some of that. Look at that, girl. Give it to me.
Those Coca-Cola branded beads.
You know it.
Just like Marti Gras demands.
It's Disney. It's Disney. It's a Disney episode, kids. It's Coca-Cola. Oh, put it on me. Put it on me. It says,
those are quality
Coca-Cola,
beads.
the proud sponsor of celebrations in New Orleans. Because yes, kids, it's not just the Super Bowl. It's Marti Gras. And, corporate sponsors can't say the Super Bowl because then they'd have to pay Roger Goodell another $1 million. So celebration, big game, the game, all those kind of things. So yeah,
all celebrations in New Orleans, a famously celebratory city. A good brand deal.
As Matt Derrick said, she didn't even have to show us her boobs. And I was like, we didn't have to show our boobs either. That's
great. What I was afraid of. I was afraid that if you were going to say and Josh, you can have these when I get back to Kansas City. If you show us what you're working with.
Yeah. Hey, girl, what you got?
I would have 100% flashed you in real life. I am
not
willing to flash all of Only Weird Games knowing what our social videos sometimes look like, but you got Nick, who's producing the show right now. So he's not 100% sure if nips are allowed on YouTube Live. We're good. I think we're 100% fine here. You can stream shirtless, I mean,
of course.
I'm not afraid. Right. I'm not afraid of YouTube coming for us. I'm afraid of Claude.
Yeah,
who makes the social videos of great reporting.
So certain things go a certain way. Later this week,
we're gonna see Nate's nips. All right, Nate's nips on Thursday, everybody.
These beads might have quite the significance. Presented by Coca-Cola.
These nips presented by Coca-Cola, the official sponsor of Nips in New Orleans. Man, cheese nips really let an opportunity go to waste here, huh? Where's cheese nips when you need them? Why aren't they celebrating something?
So these are the second beads I've gotten. The first beads were yesterday when I arrived in New Orleans. Like I came down the escalator and they were just handing people beads. It's just like, well, yeah. I mean, I am here for the Super Bowl. I don't play on the Eagles or the Chiefs, right? You know that.
Welcome to New Orleans. It's good. I feel like that's
welcome to New Orleans. Good. Here, have beads. Just people throwing beads at you. So tonight is the media party. It's always Tuesday. And I'll take photos, but I'm not really sure how it's gonna work because there's Bourbon Street, there's Marti Gras, there's Super Bowl. Like this feels like it could go in a different place than even Las Vegas had to offer last year, which to be fair, Las Vegas had a great Super Bowl media party because it was F1 race cars, the simulation game.
You're right.
It was dressed
Vegas
to the nines.
Vegas, yeah.
Yeah, it's Vegas being Vegas, dressed to the nines with some poker. Like you could play basically fake casino games. And the drinks were all free and it was excellent. And then T-Pain came out. So I'm not saying.
Do you know the plans for tonight?
I don't.
Okay.
I really don't.
I'm just excited to hear about it.
I want the audience to pray for me that I finish this Kareem Hunt story because that's technically my job. And I would like to do that before I have the clock. So I'm on a lot of different deadlines, but it's been great. It's been really great. Not a lot of celebrities yet, but
that's Wednesday, Thursday.
I know Tuck. Yes. Oh, Friday. I expect to see Martha Stewart. I expect to see Snoop Dogg. I expect to see, all the all the glitz and glamour that is the Super Bowl. If I
Are
see
you
Martha
allowed to
Stewart,
be in the same room as Martha Stewart legally?
I've done it before. She was in Miami. I took a picture of her and immediately texted it to Holly because I don't think people realize that part of my obsession with Martha Stewart, above all the other things, is that my wife used to technically work for her.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and again, I've held a conversation with Martha Stewart in front of my wife and lived to tell the tale. So,
Nate, here's what I'll say.
It's pretty football right now, which is good. It's just good. It's not celebrity like, you know, spam all over the place now.
And I think just for the plan for us here with the show, Seth should be back on Thursday. We should get him with all of the pre-Super Bowl takes that he's going to have to hopefully provide another dose of football and fresh takes on the Super Bowl from Seth, as Nate is sinking into the muck of Radio Row on Thursday. So that's the plan for Thursday's show.
Right.
Here's my last thing, Nate. Here's my last thing for you, and then we're going to talk about things that happened these last couple days. If I see at any point on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Super Bowl Sunday, if I see Martha Stewart wearing a thing of Coca-Cola sponsor of Celebrations beads, I'm calling Holly. I'm going to call Holly, and I'm going to say, listen, I can't confirm anything. But
how did she get those beads?
I need to know if Nate still has his beads, then maybe we'll back off. But then I'm assuming this results in some sort of process where you have to steal these beads from Martha Stewart to clear your name. I don't know.
Now, I have a theory on this. Okay. This is why I mentioned Martha Stewart. We are technically not on the East Coast, but we might as well be.
2, it's a day that ends in Y. 3,
it's a day that ends in Y. New Orleans, Food City. I mean, you got to come down and give us a demonstration, girl. You know how this works.
That's a good point.
You got to come down and sling this house living, this home cooked meal life, this Super Bowl party, you know, bonanza. Like, you got to come down, girl. You gots to. And look, you go to a nice restaurant, you know. We all know you're going to be out here thirst trapping. So get your thirst trap on Bourbon Street. Okay? Come on. Do it for me, Martha. One time.
I'll tell you what, I will send Seth back to Cancun if we can get Martha Stewart in his box on box on Thursday.
Yeah, so I took a very I put this on Twitter yesterday or last night during the show that, like, hey, opening night is getting less and less fun, and that's okay because, you know, this thing is as corporate as it can get these days. But I did find a fan in a Chiefs themed referee uniform.
Yeah.
And I had to take an Adam Teicher style photo.
It was good. It was like Where's Waldo at that
yes,
quality.
It was perfect. I couldn't get close to him because he was in the stands and we were on the sideline. And you know, that's the best thing I saw. The best thing I saw was actually a fan, not necessarily like someone doing a great bit. I did get to Joe Tooney. I did not hear him speak fluent Spanish until, like, I guess it was this morning, whenever it got back to us. What can the man not do? That's the best I've seen Joe Tooney all year, and I'm dead serious.
100%.
He seemed happy. Yeah. He seemed attentive. He seemed like a human being. He knew why you were asking all these questions. It was like he was ready for his moment in the sun. And I got about 4 minutes of it, and then you just have to keep moving. Because, yes, Ice Pyro, I did meet Jameis Winston. I saw Jameis Winston throw cookies to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. And I said, don't eat that. And then, of course, Travis Kelce took a bite. And I said, instantly. What are you doing?
Instantly. Funny from Nate Dogg just saying, well, yeah, Google Translate for Joe Tooney. Yeah, that makes sense. He just flicks a switch in his neck, and all of a sudden he's speaking fluent Russian. It's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I also would give up my spot on this show for an episode for the Nate and Jameis experience. I feel like that would be, we're getting calls for that. Jameis did make a joke about someone trying to pick off one of his W cookies that he threw to Travis Kelce. You're dead on there. Huge.
Let's just say
jazz.
he had a better passer rating last night than he did actually against the Chiefs in December. Let's just say that.
That's true. Hey, it was his second time this year throwing up absolute cookies to Kansas City Chiefs. Because previously it was only to defenders. Let's talk about media night. I guess we kind of already are. Was there anything, Nate? You've covered 3 of these in a row. You get Mahomes on stage. Again, I got some of the fragments of media night, which is also for a little. We're all veterans of this now, so maybe this is unnecessary. But just a little bit of context there. I'm not exaggerating. I think there has been more total Chiefs media these last 2 days than in the previous 10 weeks combined. Just in terms of just pure audio output, because you've got all these different guys talking simultaneously. And
yes.
So it's impossible, as opposed to on a Wednesday press conference out at Arrowhead. On a Wednesday press conference at Arrowhead, we are all able to hear every syllable that's said. And then when you guys go back into the locker room, or historically when you had gone back into the locker room,
right.
Some things could be a little bit different. You might get a little more kind of exclusively. But last night is a total, Nate just flashed his beads at someone. I don't need to know who it was. But Monday night now is just this absolute whirlwind of everybody talking all across the place. I think it was Matt Derrick again who tweeted his little chat with Darian Kennard. I was like, oh yeah, he's an Eagle. Chiefs legend Darian Kennard is available.
I saw him and pointed him out to Haley and Tucker, and then we all, and I'm not joking, we all did this. Oh, whoa, hey, is that Darian Kennard?
What Nate just did was turn away from the camera and start looking somewhere else. Because what are you going to talk to Darian Kennard about?
Is he behind? Is he past us? Is he past us? I haven't seen him yet. I don't want to talk to him. No.
That's media night. You can talk to James Winchester for 10 minutes if you want on media night. Did you learn anything? Was there anything that this was interesting, something fun or anything outside of the ref stuff?
I learned 2 things. They're not from players. They're from player. Let's just say I learned one thing from the front office, which I can't really say because I don't know all the details yet. But this is reporting. I learned one thing front office related that I will tell you, probably not publicly, Josh. I'll tell you afterwards. Okay. And then I learned one thing from a coaching situation, from one of the assistant coaches. Won't name that person. You might have to read about it later this week in The Athletic. In terms of player,
Nate got the scoop. Andy Reid's retiring after the Super Bowl.
Oh no!
Hey, that's not. No. Clark Hunt and Andy Reid have both already said this week he's gonna be here next year.
I was the one who was like, put the camera, because again, this is a requirement from my superiors. Take as much photo evidence as you can of this circus, because it is a circus, so I get it. I had the phone up to Clark Hunt's face like this. Can you say that one more time? Okay, I'm gonna tweet it now. For certain, coming back next season. I know for a fact. It's
the money right there.
It's so hilarious. To bounce around from people to people. Shout out to Tiffany Morton, one of the athletic trainers. This is the only time that I see her without feeling like security's gonna snipe one of us.
Right.
Yeah. It's wild to see 2 years ago, Julie Freimeyer was the darling of media night. And now people don't even recognize her, Josh.
That's wild.
She saved their season to a degree.
More so than most people on the 53-man
yes!
roster. Genuinely, right?
Yes, because she got most of the credit for Patrick's treatment of the high ankle sprain that he had, obviously, in the division round against the Jaguars, which is, again, the first of 9 straight postseason victories.
Unbelievable, dude.
And so, you just kind of see things through and out. Had a great chat with Juwan Taylor. He was fun. A lot of people were talking to Trey Smith. He was very popular. This is people not on the podium.
There's a kind of question earlier that I feel like since we're here, I'll try to
figure
out who it was to give credit. But they're just basically asking like, "Where go KC forever?" Said, "Where did you go?" So like, yeah, whose groups did you think that this would
Yes.
be an interesting person to talk to, or
You,
just who it was good to see? You've already mentioned several of those, but that's
yeah,
a good
you,
question for a
yeah,
reporter
you
on Media
always
Night.
want to get, for me, we get all the audio back of guys at the podium, so you don't necessarily have to be with them unless you want to ask something very specific. I'm seasoned and veteran enough now to want to talk to Nico Remigio.
Right.
I want to talk to Mike Bradway or Ryan Nutt or Chris Shea in the front office department. You go up and down the assistant coaches. I think last year I spent an elongated time with Tom Melvin, to which I think Tom Melvin never wanted to see my face again. Not because I did anything wrong, but it was because stop asking me questions about Travis Kelce. And I said, well, Tom, this is the only time I get. And I've answered them. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. But also, Tom was the one who went through various details. If people remember,
Yes.
Tom Melvin was the one who said, I think it was last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember. But it was on, one of the sessions where Tom Elwin was like, "Yeah, I've had 7 days off.
Yeah.
Since training camp, since July, 7 days off." And I was just like, "Oh." So, you go through waves of who you want to talk to, and Justin Watson, very popular. Some of the guys played video games. Played Madden with the crew. I'm gonna get their acronym wrong. I love them to death, but I couldn't talk to them because they were playing a video game.
That makes sense.
Um,
It was like an esports team or something.
no, it's the. I'll get them in a little
That's
bit,
fine.
but
I was gonna try to start throwing you esports team names, then I realized how short my list would be, and I don't have.
No, I mean it's just it's a place to try to get some information. I spent a decent amount of time with Clark Hunt. I don't know if people have seen this yet, but we I think we're the first to report. We the Athletic, with Andrew Marchant, we were the first to report that yes, it was Clark Hunt who didn't want Tom Brady in production meetings for.
Oh, I missed that
Conflict of interest because he's the minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. So for the first time this season, Tom Brady will get to have full access, as what Clark Hunt told me, full access to the Chiefs in terms of media productions, but he will not be allowed to watch practice, which is slightly different than like Kevin Burkhardt or, I can't remember which sideline reporter, if it's going to be Tom Rinaldi or Carissa. It's not Carissa Thompson. It's Aaron Andrews.
Whether it be Aaron Andrews here and
so, Clark Hunt spoke up to the owners and basically wanted Tom Brady to not have access to anybody because he could use some of those production meetings as a means of gathering material to get the Raiders back on track. So it's hilarious that like you're trying to get those nuggets. You're trying to get like legitimate answers. Clark Hunt today, if people haven't heard yet, Clark Hunt today said, and I just sent the full quote to my editor Mike Samsoni. God, there's so many things I've sent him because we got to go back and forth. This is Clark Hunt on Travis Kelce and his pending future. Quote, he's not made a decision that I'm aware of. Personally, I think he'll be back because he loves the game so much. We're going to let him take the time he needs to make that decision. We certainly hope he wants to come back next year. Travis Kelce last night, which was one of the bigger headlines, was said, hey, where do you expect to be in 3 years? And he says, hopefully still playing football, which I found to be interesting. Now, he has 1 year left on his contract.
After this year, just
after Sunday. And the way I interpret we will give him time is he will get about a month. Because the new league year starts in the middle of March. Kind of need to know where we're going from a position salary cap sheet. Do we need to like tear up your contract and create a new one for roster flexibility, manipulation, salary cap, yada yada yada.
They could even move back the deadline on when a bunch of that money sort of
Yes, it's
crystallizes.
guaranteed.
But to what you're
Yes.
saying there, the Chiefs need to know what the plan's going to be sooner rather than later. So a month makes sense.
Yes. So I think the longest amount Clark Hunt and the team will give Travis Kelce on what he wants to do, say if the Chiefs win on Sunday, they'll give him about a month to decide if he wants to return next season. Now, I know that'll be the news story that's permeating throughout all this, since we all know that Andy Reid is indeed coming back next season. But Travis has given no indications yet that he's planning on retirement. And Clark Hunt said today that he thinks he'll be back. So we will update you, when necessary. But that's one of the reasons why I stayed with Clark Hunt quite a bit last night. More so than like even Brett Veach.
I'm just going to use my own triple false start there just to acknowledge there have been a couple of brief moments where our internet has just not been the most pristine. And so listen, Nate's playing at tackle now. We don't have our usual guard here. Nate's on location. So, but since that is kind of like the news lead of the day to this point, and maybe our only real piece of Media Night Madness, what do you make of that? Because I didn't hear either of those quotes directly. The intonation or the way the question was phrased or whatever, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you are probably leaning towards this being Travis Kelce's last ride as of whatever Sunday, if you had, I don't know what your percentages would have been, but you and Seth at least have very much been in toss-up territory. I've been in toss-up territory, I guess.
Yes.
Does that move the needle for you at all today?
A little bit.
From Clark and from Kelce?
Yes. Yeah, it does move it a little bit. Now, that's not to say he can't change his mind, because there probably would be no better way of going out than going out on a three-peat if that happens. But yeah, like anything Travis Kelce related, reaches a certain threshold now, and we understand that. He's going to be a lot more coy than I think Andy Reid will be.
Yes.
One difference is, Travis is only on a 2-year deal. Andy Reid signed an extension to 2029 or through 2029. So it's a little bit different. You want to know my favorite personal moment from opening night?
I'd love to.
So doing a little chat. Maybe you guys have seen it with BJ Kissel of this network, with Tucker behind the camera on media night. We got Haley over here in the background. And, we're just trying to discuss, like, this is the only day of the year that makes no sense, but yet it's perfect in a sense, because do you know what Drew Tranquil looks like?
I do.
Do you?
I promise.
Do you know what Nico Remigio looks like? He's a lot smaller than you think.
He is.
He's pretty short. Do you know what Kareem Hunt looks like? Because he looks different now than 2018. Just want to let you know. So there's so many, again, Joe Tooney's speaking fluent Spanish. Incredible. He's sharing stories about Bill Belichick. You're like, what world is this? And then we make eye contact. Now, I to be fair, I had already texted Tucker and Josh this. But through, right past Tucker holding the camera, I see Tech 9 flash across my eyes. Now, I had already seen Tech 9 earlier today. He was on my same Southwest flight.
Amazing.
From Kansas City to New Orleans. And I do the customary black man thing. What's up? Now, a head nod of acknowledgement. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello,
obviously I'm on camera, Mr. 9, and you are behind the camera. So what up? And then he extended his hand, Josh. And it was like being knighted.
Wow.
Now, I love some of the Tech 9 songs. They are not Red Kingdom, even though they literally played Red Kingdom in the Caesars Superdome. I love some of the Tech 9 songs, and he extended his hand towards me while I was on camera, and then Tucker got a little fragment of a dap up
of Tech Nine coming to you,
of dapping me up, and
Nate
then saying
Taylor, he saw you and he said, "I gotta see Nate."
And then he said something to the effect of, "I respect the work." And I just said, cut it off. Cut me off. Cut me off.
Great. God, that rules.
I don't need, okay, we're done here. I don't need anything
just hit him with like a ditto.
I don't need anything else. You know?
Yeah, same.
I mean, shout out to, in a matter of a few days, one of my favorite, perhaps, I think he is my favorite local rapper. I mean, he is. There is no maybe. Now I got to like parse these things out. But my favorite local hip hop artist, the Royal Chief, shout out to him, had the fantastic song to get me ready for another season of the Kansas City Current. And then Tech Nine appreciates my work and knows who the hell I am. What is life? This is the only time, kids. This is the only time that this happens. I mean, this is very Disney-esque. Okay, how do I do my job now? What do I do with my hands, Tucker? Are we done talking about media night? What do I do with my hands? He dapped me up. My hands are goop at this point. He's in a Derek Thomas jersey, dapping me up. I don't know what to do now. I guess I should go talk to Joe Blameyer.
There was a great comment that just went by that said it would be N8 and Tech 9 from Steven. That's very good.
Yes.
And then, you know, he said he respects the work.
Yeah.
Maybe this is how we find out that he's actually just a huge Only Weird Games fan. You know, like
the amount, I cannot stress this, Josh. The amount
in
of
the
people,
chat every day.
Yes, the amount of people, and this is why it's amazing to know that this show has resonated, because it's not just Chiefs fans. I mean, there are people that know that I'm doing this right now. That is kind of hilarious. I don't know if I can get Catherine Fitzgerald back for another year, but we'll see on Thursday. We'll see if she wants to come back for another uncut from Media Row night. But the amount of people that in the industry that enjoy the work, enjoy the silliness. Obviously, we have we try to inform and give good perspective on this, you know, dynastic run. It's not only heartwarming, but it does give you great. I mean, we all have a purpose, I guess, in life, but it does give you a great sense that, like, what the purpose you are doing has, you know, largely a positive effect, that it brings people joy, that they learn something from it, that they were, like, as Tech 9 said, that they respect the work. Like, you don't have to. I really just, I find it to be really enjoyable. And, you know, it's, I mean, even talking with Robert Mays, I'm like, I'm sorry I'm here. I love Josh Allen. I really do, America. I love Josh Allen. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what to say. So, the amount of people who reached out, I got a few names on my phone, because, again, I'm trying to be good at this. What the hell happened? Okay. All right. Kirk Cousins still with us. Thank you, Diana.
Okay, thank you, Diana.
Shout out to Diana Rossini. Still grinding. But yeah, I mean, there's people that you know, that I've just really enjoyed. I mean, they're even before, like, this is crazy. Like, even before I left, Josh, there's a young man named Brandon who I met at Main Event, because in Olathe, because I promised Hayden that I would take him to Main Event as, like, my last fatherly duties before I left him for 8 fucking days. Sorry, Disney.
This is not very Disney of you. I've never heard an animated princess drop an F-bomb.
Yeah, sorry. Dang it. I'm sorry. But yeah, he was just like, we just made eye contact, and he was just like, I love the show. And it's just like, wow, you know. And he's like, you're not in New Orleans? I was like, no, not yet. Not yet. I don't.
But sooner than I'd like.
But it's gonna happen sooner than you realize. So shout out to Brandon. Shout out to Greg, who I met on my flight. He said a lot of nice things about Seth, and it bothers me, and it probably bothers Josh, and it probably bothers Tucker. but
I'd say
he really loves Seth.
good to get that shout out when Seth's not here. We need him to
Right.
really feel guilty about deserting us for basically 3 consecutive shows ahead of the Super Bowl.
How
We need him to
dare
feel that
he?
guilt, so he will carry the load on Thursday. I do not
Jeez.
intend on talking much on Thursday.
So yeah, so I did want to audibly say thank you. You know, this is one of the episodes where I really do want you to watch. You have to watch Thursday because I might go. There's
We might need to do 2 shows on Thursday where it's actually I just interview Seth for an hour and then we have like a second screen watch along of just following you around Radio Row. Just fully abandoning the idea that it's one cohesive show.
Can Thursday go 2 hours? I gotta still write, guys. I'm riding the roller coaster, baby. And I also learned that New Orleans was the first American port, or the first port in America to import coffee.
Really?
Yes. No wonder New Orleans is crazy.
Huh? They got caffeine first. They just got a head start on the rest of us.
Yes. Like New Orleans, Jazz. We got coffee before y'all, and it's hot out here.
I had no idea about the coffee thing. I thought for sure it was going to give me some sort of clever way of throwing the break, but all I've got right now is the auditory loop of Joe Tooney speaking Spanish and the Boston Tea Party. I haven't figured out how to do like the New Orleans coffee party. You know what? What I really need right now is a good break to compose myself.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
All right, so we can skip over the next topic, Nick, and the rundown. We've been in the midst of all of this, and we're going to continue to be in the midst of it because the Chiefs also spoke today. I saw a long chunk. I think I saw all of Andy Reid, bunch of Mahomes, good chunk of Charles Omenihu was very interesting. Kareem Hunt and George Karlaftis. So I've seen a good chunk of all of that today. But Nate, since we're already at this point in the show, we can include any of the defensive guys if you'd like. But I wanted to take some time to talk about where the Chiefs defense stands for this game. Again, like even hearing Omenihu talk about his whole process, I thought was really cool. And what now he has to do to not only stop Saquon Barkley, but Jalen Hurts is a legitimate weapon at that quarterback position, but a different type of weapon than Josh Allen or even Lamar Jackson or some of the quarterbacks on the AFC side. I've got a Jalen Hurts take. I've got some position group takes. I feel like it's a fascinating matchup, but what catches your eye right now on what I am just for the moment tabbing Spags versus Saquon?
Yeah, this is a Leo Chenal game. Let's just start there. Like I didn't see Leo on Monday night, but like fully involved in this game. The same with Drew Tranquil and obviously Nick Bolton. Because the Eagles are and I don't say this like in a bad sense, like it's football, it's violent, but like the Chiefs are fully healthy. I mean, I think this is, if you were ever going to play Saquon Barkley, now's a pretty good time because everybody on defense is healthy. Everybody on defense is available. And there's some bumps and some bruises with the Eagles offensive line that we need to make note of. But how much can you get penetration from wherever Chris Jones is, and how much can you seal the edge or set the edge, however you want to describe it, from my opinion, Charles Omenihu and George Karlaftis, right? Yes. Mike Dana might not be as big of a player in this game as he normally would on most games, because he's technically your number 2 starter behind Karlaftis, with Omenihu and him just kind of rotating back and forth. But I think based on Omenihu's length and he's been pretty good against the run in the postseason. I know that's something Steve Spagnuolo has mentioned. Okay, if you can set the edge, we know the Chiefs got some linebackers who love to come downhill and tackle. It's amazing to me, Josh, that I've been asked by a number of people, is the Eagles team better than 2 years ago? And I would say probably. But I thought the 49ers had a collection of all-stars to where now A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are great. They are awesome. They don't, I mean, it's tough. Like, the Chiefs did such a good job against Christian McCaffrey that they basically have to do it again to become Super Bowl champs. Because I thought, well, I don't know, guys. I mean, coming out of the backfield as a pass catcher, Christian McCaffrey presented more challenges. But in terms of a pure runner, they ain't seen nobody like this, boys. They ain't seen nobody like this. Because, Leonard Fournette was powerful. Obviously Christian McCaffrey was probably the best running back the Chiefs have played in the Super Bowl in this, 5-year stretch. Again, 5 Super Bowls, 6 years. Absolutely bananas. So if you're Steve Spagnuolo, Josh, do you show your best run blitzes early, hoping to get a lead to then force Jalen Hurts into more pass-heavy situations? Yeah. Or do you just say, I have Leo Chenal, George Karlaftis, and Nick Bolton. Let's do it. 7-on-7 right now. Remove everybody from the perimeter. Put me in I'll bring Justin Reed down in the box. Hell, we can go 8-on-9. I don't care. Just leave those 2 wide receivers alone. Right. So we can get to business. The burden, you might not think this, ladies and gentlemen. The burden's pretty heavy for the Chiefs. We've discussed that. Can you imagine the burden on Saquon Barkley's legs, shoulders, hands? Because he is the one difference demonstratively from 2 years ago. Right. And if the Eagles win on Sunday, it will, in my opinion, largely be because he's had a historic season. But the burden's pretty heavy on that dude if the Eagles get down and they can't play the game that they are most comfortable playing, which is, hey, we got ahead against the Packers, squeeze the life out of them. We got, back and forth for a little bit. Then we got ahead of the Rams. Then it snowed, snuffed them to death. We played a rookie quarterback and they fumbled the ball a million times. I mean, it was easy compared to what the Chiefs went through. So each time they've been able to play a certain way, and they're gonna have to do it again. But the Packers, the Rams, and certainly the Commanders don't have the same defensive identity in terms of stopping the run that the Chiefs have shown this season. I mean, I haven't had to mention Mike Pennell's name, but we all remember what Mike Pennell did to Trent Williams last year, right? So this is a colossal battle in the trenches, in my opinion.
I'm glad you kind of began or mentioned at least the sort of order of operations of the whole deal, because I think that's huge. Where this Eagles team, I don't have the stat in front of me, but they played a hysterically tiny percentage, a tiny number of minutes of their games trailing, and certainly trailing by more than one possession.
Kind of like 2 years ago.
Well, right, and so that matters to me, because I do think that there is something philosophically of the Eagles showing you the thing that they do best and how they want to stay ahead of the sticks, both literally and figuratively in that case, I guess. The thing about it, I had to double check. Christian McCaffrey touched the football 30 times in the Super Bowl last year.
And he had to.
100%. 100%. Nobody else got more than 3 carries for the Niners in that game, and nobody else caught more than 4 passes. Everything was Christian McCaffrey based. McCaffrey got a little bit of a different treatment from me than the other guys I'll mention, but Saquon, even despite being like the platonic ideal of a running back, while McCaffrey does more of the, Dexter McCluster offensive weapon, I've always viewed Christian McCaffrey as sort of a juiced up Dexter McCluster.
God,
they're
when
my
Dexter
very.
when Dexter was at his height, kids, it was so fun.
I had a Run DMC T-shirt in red and gold. Like I was so there for Run DMC. But the thing with Saquon that separates him from like I remember ahead of the Titans AFC Championship game, writing a whole column about Derrick Henry is not going to beat the Chiefs. Eventually, Ryan Tannehill has to beat the Chiefs. The crux, and he didn't. The crux of that argument was essentially you have to have explosive plays to beat the Chiefs.
Yes.
And that remains true. If you're going to play this knockdown, drag out, slow rolling version of football, the Chiefs won every game this year except for one that they intended to win. They won every game this year with some
Right.
version of that. And then obviously it evolved a little bit later in the year, and we've seen the change in the playoffs. But Saquon is doing something that we haven't seen in a ridiculously long time in terms of explosive plays. Like, again, I haven't compared the stats, but it feels like we've got like Chris Johnson moments of just like, and there's a 60-yard touchdown. It's just you just went on a 14-play, 70-yard drive for a touchdown that lasted 8 minutes, and Saquon Barkley handoff, and he goes through the beat guy. Oh, touchdown.
Yep.
Okay, well, tie game, everybody. You can't win that way. You cannot live like that as a defense. You cannot win that way as the Chiefs. If you told me that Saquon Barkley's longest run of the day would be like 25 yards right now, I would move some money around to lock in my bet, right? That would be telling enough.
Right.
Because I look, Devontae Smith is a big play potential type of receiver, but you have to actually make that connection, and then you have theoretically one or two defensive backs with a chance to break that play up. And I feel really good about Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, and then to a different extent, different position, Justin Reed and Jaden Hicks and Brian Cook and all that. So I feel better about the Chiefs' chances against the passing game, because even though I think the Eagles have an argument for second or third best wide receiver duo in football, probably.
For
Bengals,
sure.
Vikings, Philly seem like kind of the top three off the top of my head. And then, of course, Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnson. But I don't know why. I think the Chiefs match up relatively well with great receivers because they've got two really, really good corners and an extra 2 weeks for Jalen Watson to get all the way back, which feels massive at this point. But even though the Chiefs' run defense was really good throughout the regular season, we've seen like a little bit of dent here and there in the postseason. You tell me that the Super Bowl's coming down to if Nick Bolton's hitting that hole before Saquon Barkley does, and I get stressed. I do. I can't help it.
I know that the Chiefs have given up some long runs, but they haven't given up the home run.
Yes.
Run. And that's a level that obviously I don't even think Christian McCaffrey had at this point last season, right? He was just so good at getting chunk yardage. Saquon can give you that and the home run touchdown, like you mentioned. So what's funny in all of this is you're saying if you can guarantee that the Chiefs could limit him to 25 as like his biggest gain, I wonder if the Chiefs could say, okay, Jalen Hurts can't play like that again, right? I mean, he can't.
Right.
He can't.
If you could cast a spell on Saquon Barkley that says once he gets 25 yards down the field, he just collapses right then and then has to start again on the next play, I think the Chiefs would take that. I think it would change their entire game plan.
Yes.
And then I think it would be about Jalen Hurts being forced to have as good of a game as he did in the first Super Bowl between these two teams, which gets a little bit forgotten.
It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. Now, I know he had the fumble because he thought it was going to be a design run, and he thought, oh, Nick Bolton shouldn't be untouched. He should not be unblocked. And then he like, his brain kind of scrambled for a second, and he fumbled the ball.
Mental error, obviously. We would never see Patrick Mahomes put the ball on the ground for no reason in a playoff game. So, obviously.
So
it is, that happens, right?
So the Eagles need two things. They need a very similar version on offense. The Eagles need two things. They need a very similar version of, hey, don't just fumble a scoop and score 6, but throw dimes to Dallas Goedert on the sideline when him draped all over by Justin Reed. And hey, that Trent McDuffie guy's really good. Why don't I throw? I mean, look at that touchdown he throws at AJ Brown, guys. It's absurd. Okay, he's gonna have to play at that level. Also, don't throw an interception, which he didn't do in the first game. And we need Saquon to give us like a home run or two. Like, that's what the Eagles need. And when was the last team that really did that without the Chiefs collapsing upon themselves, which reminds me of obviously the 2021 AFC Championship game, where, yes, the Bengals took advantage of some of the Chiefs' mistakes, but the Chiefs were solely a part of that collapse just as much as it was about the Bengals rising to the moment. There were a couple. Now, I think if you're Chiefs fans, you'll say, okay, obviously the t-shirt says "In Spags We Trust." What I asked Robert Mays and the audience of the Athletic Info podcast is what I will ask to you, ladies and gentlemen, because I love you all. 3rd and 6. Good luck. Good luck. The whole game comes down to how many times can the Chiefs get the Eagles into 3rd and 6. Because it'll be cover 0. It'll be man across the board. We're coming. Hey, 2 years ago, it was Willie Gay. And it was a really good blitz. And guess what you did? You did a great job, Jalen. You didn't have a negative play. You didn't turn the ball over. You scrambled out of the pocket. And no one was open. So you threw the ball away. You punted. Oh, my God. Where's Kadarius Toney going? Right. Holy smokes. What? The game is turned immediately? So if you get Jalen Hurts in the 3rd and 6, the question comes, does he have better answers now? Does Kellen Moore have more options for Jalen Hurts than Shane Steichen had for Jalen Hurts 2 years ago? Because if Spags gets you in enough 3rd and 6s or enough 4th and 5s, we've seen what happens. So you gotta, just like last year, if you hold Christian McCaffrey to 3 yards on 1st down, things become interesting. We get an incompletion. Now things become really interesting because Saquon isn't even as effective as a pass catcher out of the backfield, we think, as Christian McCaffrey was last year. 3rd and 6, good luck. And then Robert said, no. That's with the Chiefs on offense too. And I said, right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, that whole other side of the ball with the quarterback. So yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned Kellen Moore and Spags, because yesterday, talking to Carrington Harrison over on 96 Side of the Fan, he asked for what the Chiefs' biggest matchup advantage was, and I had to think about it for a while, because the Eagles are a very talented football team. And I could say, Patrick Mahomes is an advantage, but that's kind of a cop-out. And I think it is Spags versus Kellen Moore. And I am I see you moving again, Nate, if you were wondering how long you were stuck for. I believe we're right.
Hallelujah.
I don't want to say this entirely definitively, because I do care about saying true things and not just saying things that sound true and then sending them out into the universe. But
okay,
I think when I've watched the Eagles offense, they've got obviously a very, very talented but currently banged up offensive line, a very talented quarterback who's limited in some ways and excellent in other ways, the best running back in football, one of the 3 best wide receiver duos in football. I don't feel like that offense has been exactly imaginative. I feel like it has been effective and efficient, and I would understand if you've been effective and efficient, what are you tinkering for, right?
Right.
I don't think it's some terribly coordinated offense, but I don't know if it's a terribly creative one, because I think a lot of their best stuff feels like a club, like just a battering ram of, here are the Eagles, we're gonna do this all year, and now they're back in the Super Bowl. I wonder if they will be able to engineer answers to the questions that Spags is asking of them. That's my matchup. That's my big game question. That's maybe how you get to 3rd and 6. Oh, and I can see Nate moving, but I don't think he could hear me now. Okay, very good. Well, Nate, I guess just start yapping and waving your hands when you're good. This is wild. I can see Nate in perfect clarity with no particular delay. I'm guessing I'm frozen to him, but he also, I'll just tell you, and it's okay, Nick. Also, it's okay if this is where the show ends. I can have a last word for once if necessary. We're nearing an hour. Nate is now completely frozen. I've never seen internet fail that particular way. Oh, and now Nate's gone. Whoop, hold on, and we're loading, and Nate's back again. Fantastic.
Okay. Thanks, Roger Goodell. I had to switch to a personal hotspot.
I was just about to pivot. I was telling Nick that I could do the final word in the send-off today if we couldn't get you back. We're almost to the hour mark, but I want you to talk about the story you've got coming. But I was about to pivot to the fact that there is no place in America currently where it is harder to be successfully connected to the internet than on Radio Row at the Super Bowl. And it happens every year. The American media converges on one stadium and one conference
How much
center
money must
year.
I give Roger Goodell to get me on a spaceship?
Like, can we
a functional spaceship?
A functional extra few routers would there's a lot of content being pushed out there at Radio Row. A lot of radio shows by the name. A lot of live streams, folks.
This is
video too now.
Right, the 59th year of the Millennium Falcon. That is Radio Row. Come on, give me the hyperspeed, Raj.
You left us and then landed back out of hyperspace relatively quickly. So Nate, give the sales pitch on the story you've got coming out. If there's anything that you talked about with Kareem Hunt today that you found particularly interesting. I thought his presser was interesting, but I want you to tell people what's coming to The Athletic and why you wanted to talk and write about him again.
Yeah, I just kind of stayed in the shadows. I asked him one question because hey kids, you want to cover the Super Bowl? You get to ask Kareem Hunt one question. You get one because there's 70 other people around him, which is fine. Quick tip for the youngins, because I was once a youngin who was terrified to ask Nate Robinson a question at the NBA Finals. I was literally that kid. Just say your question, dog. Just jab the hell out of him with your question.
Yep,
so I don't know if you heard me, Josh. But I started, and then Kareem and I made eye contact, and I just jabbed him. Do you want to come back next year?
Oh,
yeah. You know,
yes,
like he
yes.
he doesn't need an intro, kids. He's never seen you before. Okay. Like just punch right at him, okay?
And again, just in another moment of only weird games covering itself, not literally.
Well,
don't jab anybody unexpectedly. This is all metaphor. Nate's a writer. These are metaphors.
Yes. Yeah, metaphorically. I asked Drew Tranquil, any advice for anybody who's not played in the Super Bowl before?
The eyes you're making after you're dismounting is so perfect. I know that for everyone listening in audio, just ask a question quickly. Here's if you want to practice this at home.
Yes.
Come up with a question that I'm going to say you can get out in 15 words or less. You want it to be unique, but it can't be very heady. It's real rapid fire there. And then spit it out in one breath as quick as you can. Clearly, you got to say it clearly. You don't want to make him ask for clarification.
Yeah, so he or she can hear it. Yes.
Hear the question, but you just ask the question with some urgency, and then to complete the package, as Nate just did there, raise your eyebrows and open your eyes extra wide.
Right. Not everybody can be Holly Rowe, right? Where you just, it's almost like you and Bill Self are just chit-chatting in front of a camera. That's amazing, okay? You got to work to get to that level, all right? Now, I've
enjoyed that environment, but it's very hard to, you cannot recreate that in a scrum. It's impossible.
No, hell no. When again, y'all ain't seen one another all year. You know, that's one of the benefits I have is like, at least these guys are hopefully familiar with my face, which is not a phrase I thought I'd be saying today. But anyway, do you want to come back next season? He says yes. And then he sort of expands on it a little bit, but this is the most individually fascinating person of this entire week. That's what I'm staking this on. because I can't remember if it was Ice Pyro or someone else in the chat. Now that things are loading back or past Lou, yes, the best acquisition they made this season during the season. He's led the team in rushing. Everybody knows the backstory. And the fact that he's here, I hope I can articulate this well in the story. There's a difference between knowing redemption, understanding redemption, and living it. Because that was the word, understandably, that was asked in whatever question, right? One of my favorite parts of Back and Forth, the great documentary about the Foo Fighters, is Dave Grohl created the first album all by himself on a cassette tape back in Seattle. He needs people to obviously play the instruments. But on their first tour of the self-titled Foo Fighters album, the press conference was, and they have footage of this, which is crazy. It's like, is this song about Kurt Cobain? Is this song about Kurt Cobain? Is this song about Kurt Cobain committing suicide? And it's okay, because as humans, that's what people were interested in at the time. And he's like, no, it's like, these are songs that I wrote. These are songs that like mean something to me. I love Kurt Cobain, and like it's terrible that, he committed suicide, but like that's not the song, And Kareem got to live a very similar version of that, where it's like, what does redemption mean to you? Well, who are you? What did you learn? What about redemption? Second chances? Like somebody was like, how about if I phrase it like second chances? And maybe that would drive someone a little kooky, understandably, because you're like, I'm a pretty good football player. But he's lived it to a point now where he's comfortable with who he is. And that doesn't mean he might not make a mistake in the future. That means he's not going to be like a perfect human being all the time. None of us are. But for where he is in his career right now, he's comfortable with who he is. And imagine how long it's taken him to be comfortable with who he is within the spotlight that is the Super Bowl and the festivities of all the media and people trying to understand, how the hell did you just do this? And so I hope that comes across in the piece, because that's ultimately what I got to write in the next 2 hours. But yeah, it's something where no one could have foreseen it, and that's why it's one of the more it's why it's one of the most intriguing storylines, not only of the game but kind of the season. Like, as human beings, we need something new, we need something fresh, we need something that's like keeping us interested. Who knew that it would take the guy they banished off the team, who may have torpedoed their chances to win the Super Bowl that year, for now to be that much more enriching. So Kareem is comfortable with who he is. He knows who he is now, and he's not a representation of just saying the right words. He's actually someone who's done it for quite a while to even get to this point. And what if he has more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley on Sunday?
I'm really excited to read that story, because I do feel like there's still room for that to be told, which I think is a great way of putting all of it into perspective. So we'll check that out over on the mothership tomorrow morning. If I had to guess, right? Probably not tonight.
Yeah, it'll probably be like the story will probably come out tomorrow.
Okay, I'll
Lord
be
help us. Lord help. Pray for my editor. I mean, Mike's been up since like 6 a.m. doing God knows what. I mean, every day, kids. Every day, it's like 16-hour days. It's great. It's great because you just. All right, what else do we got to do?
And I will remind you now, Nate, just friend to friend. I'll remind you.
Yes.
Today is Tuesday. We'll talk to you on Thursday.
Take me home.